Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Youth Have a Voice podcast season 2. If you're new here, my name is Feolami Joseph and I am your host. And I'm really excited for today's episode because it's really the core of a lot of the work I do even outside of the podcast. Today we're going to be talking about career development, social media, and being ready for the future of work. So we all use social media. I'm sure every young person here, or even other people from other age groups, use social media on what this is, a phone. So many of us are on TikTok, we're on Instagram. And as young people, I do think that social media for entertainment shouldn't be the only form of social media that we're using. Social media can also be a form of us developing ourselves beyond just scrolling and seeing what's happening in the entertainment industry. It can also be an important tool when it comes to developing yourself, when it comes to career, finances, or just automatically becoming a better person when it comes to health, mental health, and so many other things to better develop yourself and grow as a person. So I decided to talk about this because so many young people are lost on what skills they need, what direction they need to take when it comes to developing themselves beyond being in the classroom. Last month or about 2 months ago, I was at an event. I was invited for an event and I got to speak to younger teenagers from about the ages of, I got to speak to preteens and teenagers from about the ages of 12 to 16. And a lot of questions they had was, what direction do I take? When I want to start applying to school, what do I need to do? I'm lost. My parents don't understand my goals. They don't understand my aspirations. And I think for a majority of young people, this is a challenge and this is a problem that so many of them face. And even I, when I was a bit younger, it was a challenge I faced. But then luckily, I was able to kind of curate and navigate what pathway I wanted to take earlier than other people, which is why I decided that now I want to spend so much of my time helping youth to develop themselves and grow more and more. So the work world is changing constantly from the rise of AI to how advanced technology skills are becoming to even now having remote work. So some people may never even see their colleagues face to face. Traditional jobs are no longer the only path that young people need to be able to develop themselves and develop their abilities. Now there's a need for more creativity. So more creative jobs are actually needed because creativity is important in this day and age. So being able to be creative, being able to be more adaptable. So having the right soft skills too is just as important as just having a degree. Because if you are not able to work well with people, you can't keep a job. I mentioned at an event recently that hard skills get you a job and then soft skills keep you at your job. So these are also just as important because without these skills, you can't actually adapt to the work environment that you're going to be in, and you're not going to be able to actually work towards ensuring that everything you want for your life is on the right track. So when it comes to social media can help you to network with other people. It can also help you to personally brand yourself and also be a tool for learning. So when it comes to networking, there's so many tools that can be used for this. So for example, LinkedIn is one of the common tools when it comes to networking. But at the same time, as I'm getting older, I'm also realizing that depending on the niche you want to work in, you shouldn't just limit yourself to LinkedIn. I mean, you could have an Instagram account that's dedicated to this crap because I mean, different people in different industries are on different accounts. Even though LinkedIn is the most professional tool for networking, you could also have a portfolio on other accounts, such as your Instagram. You can have a TikTok page dedicated to whatever work you want to do. And I also think for young people, people of any age actually, who may be listening to me, something that's also important as a young person is being able to have a digital presence or whatever you want to work in. Because I think something that a lot of young people face when it comes to challenges is I don't have work experience. However, a digital presence on social media can actually go beyond having tangible work experience because it actually shows practicalized ways you have been able to solve problems or even understand, critically think about things you know. Because sometimes, and with the way the world is changing, people get referrals just from what people see on the internet, what people see on social media. Maybe if you're being referred for a job in a youth space, we're using youth participation as an example. If you're being referred to a job in a youth space, even if maybe you have the abilities and the qualifications, because being the youth space has a lot to do with digital tools and social media. If you have a digital presence that has shown what you're able to do, you're more likely than someone who doesn't have any digital idea, any digital presence, and people don't even really know who they are if they just mention their name. So this also helps you to post about your work, your achievements and projects, and it can also help you to be attracted, or people are attracted to you because they see that, okay, this person actually has tangible skills that I may actually need if I was to consult them for a project. So if I was to collaborate with them, because I can actually see what they're doing. And this actually applies to different industries, because when people have brand on social media, no matter how big or small you think it may be, it can also just be a great way for people to see more about what you're doing. People may randomly, people you don't even know, strangers may just decide to support you because they're like, you know what, this person's brand can actually help me in a way, or I understand the vision this person is trying to solve, or I understand what this person is trying to do in the next 2 to 3 years. So I'm going to make sure that I am properly supporting them so that they can actually get to where they want to be in. And I think that consistency is also another thing that's really important for the young person. So be consistent in whatever you're doing when it comes to social media, for developing a career or building up a personal brand for yourself. And also when it comes to career skills, so let's say you've been able to develop your social media now, you've been able to develop skills that you need, being able to have skills that are important for the future of work is also really key and really necessary. My organization, the Educational Guidance Development Initiative, also known as College Guide Africa, we run a 8 to 9 week skill development workshop for students between the ages of 18 to about 27. And this is just our way of teaching them mainly soft skills. And then there are now a few courses on certain hard skills that are needed, because the future of work depends on the soft skills and the way you're able to relate with people. If you are a terrible person when it comes to relating, even if you have all the money in the world, or even if you have all the skills in the world, people are not going to want to work with you. And that's just the truth. You may be really good at your job, but the moment they find someone who is just as good and has a better attitude, you're out of there. Sometimes people think that they're not replaceable because they're good at their job, but then they have a nasty attitude. But then having a nasty attitude doesn't make people want to relate with you, doesn't make people want to work with you. See, I'm going to talking about some of the important career skills that people need when working with other people. The first one is critical thinking. When we talk about critical thinking, this has to do with how well can you assimilate information. If you're being instructed on what to do, how well can you even think beyond the situation to know that, okay, I understand this is what I'm expected to do. I can even go above and beyond to infer on the next steps to do. So critical thinking is one important skill that is needed. Another one is problem solving. If a problem arises, do I just sit down and fold my arms on, okay, this problem is here, it's not my business, I'm not going to do anything about it? Or do I think, what ways could we think about it? So it's actually you being proactive. What ways can I see that this problem can be solved? What can I change to make sure that this problem doesn't become a bigger fish than it needs to be? So this is something to also put in mind, as something to consider. The communication. Communication is so important in every industry. You can't do without communication. If you're unable to communicate, literally industries can fall without proper communication. Imagine having a deal that is really important and you've been instructed to do something, and the deal is time bound, and because you were unable to share information with someone at a specific point in time, because of that, that deal ends up being lost, or suits even end up happening because communication was not done properly. Even when it comes to writing, writing is a form of communication. There's verbal communication, there's written communication. There are different forms of communication. When it comes to writing, being sure that you're legible and being sure you're clear and concise in the instructions that are being given to you or you're giving to someone else is also just as important. So verbal communication and written communication are two key parts of communication when it comes to being ready for the job market and being ready to develop a career for yourself. So when we also talk about communication, something else that's also important is asking questions. It's a form of communication. If you're unsure about something, it's always better to ask than to just assume, and then there ends up being a terrible mistake because of one's assumption or because you are not sure of what to do. So communication in this aspect is also important by asking questions. I do believe that the world is kinder to people when you're younger. So use the fact that you're young to take advantage of that and ask as many questions as you want. Don't just assume things. Always clarify with people, no matter how annoyed they are. It's better for them to be annoyed with you than for you to make such a great mistake, and then so many mistakes and so many problems then arise because you were afraid of communicating with someone in the first place. Another thing I would mention is digital literacy. I think that everyone needs to learn how to use digital tools. I mean, I recently spoke with someone who told me they didn't understand, they didn't know how to use an email. So I made it my duty to start sending all my communication to them via email so that they could actually learn how to use an email. Things as simple as checking your emails to make sure that you're not missing out on any communication details, being able to use the Microsoft tools, being able to use the Google Workplace tools, because tools are constantly evolving. But then the thing about tools is that they're usually similar to one another. So once you're able to use one, you can actually apply the knowledge you've had from one to another one. It's just that some tools may be slightly different and you may need to learn a bit more about them. But then once you're able to actually use one tool, you can actually reuse that knowledge to understand how to adapt it to another tool. But being able to be digital literate in this age is really important. I see some people with some really expensive devices and they don't even know how to communicate effectively. So what's the point of the device if you can't use it for the greater good? I think that this is really important for young people to be able to be digitally literate, because even if you don't want to work in a 9 to 5, if maybe you want to do content creation because it is something that so many young people are interested in these days, if that's something you want to do, let's say for example now you have a social media manager who's managing yourself, managing you, or managing content you have, or you have potential brand deals, and if you're not digitally literate, you can't even properly communicate back with them. And then this is where exploitation sometimes comes in, because you end up paying for things you really need to pay for because you don't have the skills to be able to do that. So avoid spending money on things and actually learn doing those things yourself, because you're actually saving yourself money if you're able to do certain things, because many things some people pay for is actually a waste of money because they don't know how to do things themselves. So save yourself the time, save yourself the money, and learn how to properly use digital tools. Even things like Canva is a digital tool, and it's something that's so common in this day and age. Learn how to make simple designs for yourself, and digital tools can also be an extra source of income for you as a young person. So for young people who sometimes think, I don't know what to do with myself, I don't have any form of making money, and I'm tired, you live with your parents, you're tired of not being able to be financially stable for yourself, being able to learn some digital tool, it could just be a way or a format for you to be able to make more money or make some income for yourself as a young person. And we'll also be talking about adaptability. I know that this may be a tricky skill for some people to learn, but adaptability really goes a long way to sometimes show how resilient you are. Now, adaptability shouldn't be people pleasing, because sometimes some people may take advantage of that. But when we talk about adaptability in the sense of being in the workplace or being a young person who's trying to develop their career, it kind of means that if something happens the way you didn't intend it to happen, you're still calm and you know that, okay, I can easily migrate into the next thing, even if this ended up not working out. So you're just thinking to yourself that, okay, if this didn't work out, I can still make sure I am fine in this aspect and everything is still going to go on smoothly. So for example, let's say you're speaking on a stage and there was meant to be something on the program that was meant to happen and didn't happen. You don't need to visibly show that you're panicked or visibly show that there was a mistake or a problem arise. You can just divulge, or you could just move to the next thing without making a scene or making it look like the whole world is about to end because something changed. So being adaptable basically shows your emotional intelligence to be able to navigate problems even when the problems were unexpected or unprecedented, just to make sure they are still on the right track and everything is still run smoothly. And then after whatever event or whatever problem there was, that can now be communicated to find out, okay, what happened. But you're not going to stop everything unless it's really a grave matter that needs immediate attention. But you don't need to stop or halt everything just because there was a problem that had started. Another tool that is really important, another skill that's really important in this day and age, is being creative and being innovative. With the rise of artificial intelligence, AI, creativity is a must, because I honestly think that sometimes people are using their creativity skills. Now, AI is meant to be a helper, it's like an assistant. But then if you are not creative yourself, so I was having a conversation with one of my friends, and we were basically talking about how you need to be smart to be able to properly use AI. Some people who use AI are not smart at all, and it shows when they send out work to people. I mean, I was working at a company once, and then an external person sent a letter to our company, and they used artificial intelligence to write the letter. It was very obvious that they had used AI to draft the letter, which is okay. But then be smart when you're using that. So the letter said, bracket company name. You know, if you use artificial intelligence to draft a letter, it will just show, if you didn't put the company name in the prompt, it will just show in brackets what the company name or what your mentor did. So they are sent up the letter, stamped and signed by their CEO, by the way, saying their company name. I'm writing to request that in brackets mention etc XYZ or what you're supposed to do. And when we saw the letter, we laughed. We're like, what exactly is going on here? So you need to be smart when using artificial intelligence, and you need to be creative, because some people rely too much on it to the point that they can't critically think again for themselves, which is not good. So being able to be smart with artificial intelligence is also really important. So you can think critically and you can also be innovative. And then we're coming to the end of some of the skills that are really important. Being disciplined is also very important. So this also applies to whatever industry you're in. Sometimes have delayed gratification. This could also involve your finances. If maybe you're meant to have a sort of savings plan and you can see the money, just think that the money is in there. This is an example of being disciplined, for example. If someone trusts you with something and you have access to it, don't use it because you have access to that thing. Be disciplined and know that you're not meant to use it. They are trusted you enough to keep it with them. So make sure that you are keeping their trust, because imagine if you spend that money now and then they come back to you 2 days later and you just tell them that the money is in there, you're going to look very irresponsible. No matter what problems you had, that's not your money. This is just an example of being disciplined as a young person. It is very important, because without discipline, people can't trust you. You can't also trust yourself, because you think to yourself, "Oh, I did it before, I forgot to be doing this again." But when you're self-disciplined, you can actually avoid so many different problems and just make sure that you're actually on the right track as a young person. So as we come to the end of today's episode, I would like to leave you all with a few words. Make sure that you use social media properly for the better good. Social media for entertainment is good, but also is it about the purpose for developing yourself? Because I mean, you spend so many hours scrolling on this device called a phone. Don't just scroll on your device. Actually make sure you're using it to empower yourself and enrich yourself. So even if you're spending 5, 6 hours on your phone, at least have like 2, 3 hours that can actually be used to develop yourself and to become better. Learn a skill. Social media is there. People have courses on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram. Don't just use it for entertainment and gossip and meaningless. Just use it to develop yourself personally, internally, spiritually, whatever you want. Use social media as a way to develop yourself. Also build skills that will matter in the next couple of years, because soft skills will never actually go out of style, because you always need to interact with people. No man's an island, so you can't actually work by yourself or solo. So you're always going to have to work with people, which is why soft skills are important. And soft skills will keep you in a job. That's why they're also important. Also, make sure that you're always staying open-minded and curious to work with people. Building a personal brand is also important. So make sure you're developing yourself through your brand. Make sure you're posting what you're doing on social media. Also, don't post confidential information about your organization. So even if you're working somewhere and you decide to build a personal brand based off where you're working. If your company has a social media policy, make sure you're strict to that policy. Even if they don't have a policy, you just need to make sure that you're not posting confidential information, because people may be looking at you too with weird eyes that why are you posting such confidential information on the internet? And then that also makes them start to think that maybe this person isn't actually trustworthy, or if maybe I was to work with this person, they are going to post things that are confidential, that they are not meant to actually post on a day-to-day basis. So be mindful of the digital footprint that you leave behind, and be mindful of what you post on social media, but use social media as a tool to develop yourself. And also, last but not least, I think I preach this in so many of my solo episodes, don't compare yourself to other people. Everybody's pathway is different. My pathway is in yours, your pathway is in mine, your neighbor's pathway is in yours, your sister's pathway is in yours. Just make sure that you keep on staying on the right track and don't compare your journey with other people, because everybody's timing is different. Everyone's timeline is different. So just keep on working hard and doing the best you can at all times. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into today's episode. I would love to know if maybe you'd like to have more career-based episodes, because this is something I'm also really passionate about. I will also see how I could better do this to serve you all. Maybe more tips on working in the workplace and things like that, because I also work in HR, something I am passionate about too. So if you like more career-based episodes, let me know and I will definitely keep that in mind and share more. Thank you so much everyone for tuning in today's episode. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share with your family, your friends, your enemies, everybody involved, and we will see you in the next episode. Goodbye.